why people want to take gap years makes zero sense to me. You're 20 years old, you've done 2 years of college, you've seen something, you've seen some internship on social media, or you've had some random startup idea, and you're like, okay, now I should take a gap year. In this video, I'm going to tell you why gap years are a utterly bad decision and what you should do instead. The first thing about gap years, and this is after seeing a large number of people doing gap years, is that after you come back from the gap year, you're not going to want to complete your college. The gap year is going to be this nice honeymoon phase where you sleep as much as you want, where you work as much as you want. Even if you're not sleeping a lot, you're sleeping as much as you want to sleep. And you're not doing things that you don't want to do. So when you come back to college, you're going to be like, what the hell? You're back to reality. I don't want to do this anymore. Fuck this thing. Why people don't take gap years after college makes no sense to me. Because the likelihood, as I said, that once you come back to college is very low. And once you come back to college and wanting to do the gap year is probably very low. So what I would do instead is I would take the gap year after college. I would take some time off, learn my skills, probably take that moonshot startup risk, etc., etc. And think about this. What exactly are you trying to do in this gap year? And the common answers are the same. I want to do an internship that requires me full time. I want to do a startup. Some people say I want to prepare for masters and I want to do like study for a GMAT or something like that. But honestly, all of these things can be done while in college. Now, yes, it might take a small hit on your grades, but getting a lower grade and graduating college is a far better decision than running the probability that you might just not graduate college ever. Another problem is that you're unnecessarily creating financial burdens. The likelihood that during the gap year you will earn enough money to support the rest of your college life is very, very low. Even if an internship promises you a large amount of money like 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees a month, you're probably not going to be able to save enough money to be able to graduate the rest of your college. That's because there are so many random costs that are never factored in and something always comes up. Another important thing about why people take gap years is that they don't want to get burnt out. They don't want to, feel so terrible all the time. They don't want to take that 2 hour bus to college. They don't want to deal with the same stupid people. They definitely don't want to talk to their professors. And I understand that. I was in the same boat. When I was in college, when I was in the second year, I truly wanted to drop out. Forget gap year. I didn't want to come back. I just wanted to end this thing. I just wanted to leave. I just wanted to do my own thing. And honestly, had COVID not come and changed the whole game and made it all online, I probably would have dropped out too. But I'm very, very grateful for the fact that I did not drop out of college, for the fact that I did not take that gap year, even though I truly wanted to. So what happens is, if you are the type of person who feels very burnt out in college, then after your gap year, you're going to come back and within a week, you're going to get burnt out again. And this might not make sense. You might feel like, oh, 1 week of work will not get me burnt out. No, it's 1 week plus the entire trauma that you had from college before that. It's definitely going to come and bite you, and within like a few days of coming back to college, you're going to feel the entire burnout all over. So what would I do if I'm really burnt out and I just want to do my own thing while in college? First, all the things that you can do during your gap year, you can do while in college. If you want to start a startup, you can start it in college. It's going to help you more to do it while in college than while you're doing it on your own, because while you're doing it on your own, you have very little motivation to wake up on time and sleep on time and stuff like that. But if you're in college, you're still waking up on time, you're still going to the lectures, you're still, going to college, going to a place on time, and you're still interacting with people. So the likelihood that you just, decide to screw everything and just sleep for 1 year is very low. And this is more common than you would imagine, that people take gap years, saying that, oh, I want to pursue a career in stand-up comedy, or oh, I want to pursue a career in entrepreneurship. And then within 3 months, they realize that it is so much harder than they imagined. And they're like, let me just sleep for the rest of the year and do nothing for the rest of the year, except for like scroll TikToks and watch YouTube videos. And I'll come back and I'll get back to reality. And as soon as they get back to reality, they're again burnt out and they again decide, oh, maybe I should take another gap year. And maybe if I tried harder enough. The next thing I would do is spend effort and money in minimizing the amount of bullshit that you deal with, or the amount of nonsense that you deal with. I personally used to travel 1.5 hours one way to college. That means I would spend 3 hours a day traveling to and from college. In my 4th year, I was like, you know what? I truly want to drop out, but I'm not going to drop out. Let me just find a place right next to college. I found a random hostel which was not that expensive, and I was basically spending now just 10 minutes going to and from college. And my mental health, my burnout had completely reduced, because sometimes even during college, like if I had a 2 hour break, I would just go and take a nap and come back. And this was completely alien to me. If earlier I was tired during college, I would just have to find a way to push through it. I would just have to find a way to, maybe sit down in the library with my head down or something like that. But the fact that I lived just 10 minutes from college kind of changed the whole game for me. So if you're someone who lives like really far from college, you want to, consider that maybe instead of a gap year, I can just reduce my burnout by moving closer to college. And the amount of money you will spend in moving closer to college is definitely going to be less than the amount of money you're going to waste in that gap year. Another thing you can minimize, and people are not going to like the fact that I say this, is to take more efficient public transport. I have in the past gone to college by buses. I have in the past gone to college by trains and metros. And again, that is a huge, huge, huge contributor to burnout. And you might not see that, you might think it's normal, you've got used to it, etc. But the day you start taking like rickshaws or taxis to college, it's going to be much less stressful, because of course you can sleep in the rickshaw, you can sleep in the taxi, you're not going to sleep in the metro while standing up. One more interesting thing that you can do if you're planning to take a gap year is to just stop interacting with people in your college. And I had done this for about 6 months during my college. I did not answer one message, one text, one emergency, nothing. You cannot talk to me, you cannot interact with me. If you try to stop me while I'm walking from one class to another, I'm not going to listen. Again, a lot of burnout comes from the fact that you have to deal with a large number of people, especially if you're like slightly introverted. Like I'm like in the middle between an introvert and an extrovert, and a lot of times I did not want to talk to people in my college. I just wanted to do my own thing. There was a time when I used to like cover my face with a cap so that I can't see them, so that's like an excuse. But then at some point I was like, you know what, let me just own this. If I don't want to talk to you, I'll just not talk to you. And that also definitely reduces the burnout, because I would then essentially hang out with the people who energized me. I would hang out with the people who I wanted to hang out with. I would hang out with people who are pushing me to do better, not with a random Joe Schmo who wants to, give me advice, or, make fun of me, or, ask me to go out for drinks with them and stuff like that. The next thing I would definitely spend effort on is to not do things that I don't enjoy. And this can be going out with friends for drinking, this can be smoking weed, this can be smoking cigarettes, this can be accompanying your friend to meet the teacher. And again, I don't understand why people in India like accompanying people and why people feel the need to accompany them. I had met a friend recently and he said, hey, why don't you come with me to help me select a gym? No, I'm not doing that. I've not come to meet you to help you select a gym. And honestly, you should be very, very comfortable saying no to people. You should be very, very comfortable, saying that if I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do this. And the funniest thing is when a girl asks a guy to come shopping with them. And a lot of guys will say, yes, 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 let's go shopping. No, you don't want to go shopping. I mean, if you want to go shopping, that's great. But me personally, I can't stand that, and I will always say no, whoever the girl is, even if it's my mother. Once you've done all these things to basically minimize the amount of friction between you and your college, or between you and the amount of effort you're putting in your college, the likelihood that you'll still want to take a gap year is very low. But there are some situations in which gap years make a lot of sense, especially if you're running a startup and it started getting some good traction, if you've raised like a few $100,000 in funding, or if you're making large amounts of revenue to the point where attending college is very difficult, and you truly want to drop out of college but you don't want to take the risk of dropping out of college. This is the only situation where I would personally take a gap year, is if I want to drop out of college and I think dropping out is the right choice, but I want to keep my options open. If you're going for a gap year, go with the intention that the successful outcome of the gap year is that you drop out. And I'm not a huge fan of dropping out. I think dropping out is a big mistake, but in some situations it doesn't. If you have any suggestions for types of videos that I can make, or if you want to know more about, the kind of things that I did during college, why don't you just follow me or subscribe to this channel and leave a comment of things that I can do.